moving and the American people back to work.
Thank you, and appreciate some of the comments made by the President and Vice President this week regarding the economy and the necessity to do infrastructure jobs. In fact, Mr. Biden was at a port talking about the infrastructure of our country. But yet there's been one infrastructure project that has, because of political reasons, been ignored. No action taken by this administration. I'm talking about the Keystone XL pipeline. Tomorrow marks an interesting anniversary. It's the 5th year anniversary of the Keystone permit filing. Now, what's particularly interesting about this administration ignoring this infrastructure and jobs and economic driver bill and project is that shortly into his first year, the President did sign and the State Department did recommend a cross-border permit of a pipeline carrying oil sands into the United States. So the President didn't have a problem with the Alberta Clipper pipeline delivering oil into the United States and crossing the border until it became an environmental issue on the Keystone pipeline. And only then, and because of politics, has the President refused to act on the permit. So I'm proud that our leadership is now discussing and contemplating putting Keystone Pipeline in whatever opportunities we may have with debt ceiling and continuing resolutions. I appreciate our leadership continued focus on this type of a job bill.
Question.
Speaker, no secret that you did not want to attach Obamacare to, defunding Obamacare to this spending bill. I know it's not been easy to be the Speaker over this caucus, but at this point, have you kind of lost control over the caucus?
Listen, we've got a lot of divergent opinions in the caucus, and the key to any leadership job is to listen. You know, I was here during the Gingrich era. He had a little plaque that was in his office, and it was a management model. Listen, learn, help, and lead. We listened to our colleagues over the course of the last week. We have a plan that they're happy with. We're going forward.
Mr. Speaker, doesn't this, to some degree, by moving this to the Senate, I know there's some of the plan last week, but isn't that a fait accompli? I mean, there's not going to be 60 votes. Harry Reid is probably going to strip certain things out of there, including health care.
Listen, the fight over here has been won. The House has voted 40 times to defund, change Obamacare, to repeal it. It's time for the Senate to have this fight.
But don't you know what's going to happen?
I'm not going to predict what the Senate's going to do or not do.
Mr. Speaker, will you let the House work its will and vote up or down on whatever the Senate comes back?
I'm not going to speculate on what the Senate's going to do or not do or what we're going to do or not do because it's very premature.
For the last question, Mr. Speaker, do you believe that the implications and the ramifications of a possible government shutdown are the same for the Republican Party this time as they were in 1999?
Listen, there should be no conversation about shutting the government down. That's not the goal here. Our goal here is to cut spending and to protect the American people from Obamacare. It's as simple as that. There's no interest on our part in shutting the government down. Thanks.
And the House Rules Committee at this hour is working on that short-term spending bill. As you can see, live coverage on C-SPAN 3. Back to the Senate floor, senators in a quorum call waiting for senators to come to the floor as they continue to work on an energy efficiency bill aimed at helping develop efficient manufacturing technologies. Leaders are meeting off the floor as they try to work out a deal to move forward on that legislation. The Republican Study Committee announced today that they have a health care plan, and while we wait for senators to come to the floor, we'll show you some of that.
I want to thank everybody for coming. The RSC is proud today to officially unveil our health care bill, which is called the American Health Care Reform Act. This bill is a true alternative to Obamacare. It's a bill that we've been working on for months with our health care working group chaired by Dr. Phil Rowe, who I'll be introducing. And when we started this process a few months ago, we've all been strongly opposed to Obamacare. We continue to work on many different fronts to repeal.
Be terminated.
Without objection.
I now ask unanimous consent that we proceed to period of morning business. Senators allowed to speak for up to 10 minutes each.
Without objection.
I ask unanimous consent that the Judiciary Committee be discharged from further consideration of S-Res 164.
The clerk will report.
Senate Resolution 164 designating October 30th, 2013 as a National Day of Remembrance for Nuclear Weapons Program Workers.
Is there objection? If there is no objection, the committee is discharged and the Senate will proceed to the measure.
Mr. President, I now ask unanimous consent the resolution be agreed to, the preamble be agreed to, the motion to reconsider be laid on the table with no intervening action or debate.
Without objection.
I ask unanimous consent the Senate proceed to S-Res 240.
The clerk will report.
Senate Resolution 240 designating the week beginning September 15th, 2013 as National Hispanic Serving Institutions Week.
Is there objection to proceeding with the measure? If not, no objection.
I ask unanimous consent the resolution be agreed to, the preamble be agreed to, the motion reconsider be laid on the table with no intervening action or debate.
Without objection.
I now ask unanimous consent when the Senate completes its business today, adjourn until 9:30 a.m. tomorrow morning, Thursday, September 19th. And following the prayer and the pledge, the morning order be deemed expired. The journal proceedings be approved to date. The time for the two leaders be reserved for the use later in the day. And following any leader remarks, the Senate be in a period of morning business for an hour. Senators permitted to speak for up to 10 minutes each, with the time equally divided and controlled between two leaders or the designees, with the majority controlling the first half, Republicans the final half. Following that morning business, Senate will resume consideration of the energy savings bill.
Without objection.
There's no further business come before the Senate. I ask that it adjourn under the previous order.
The Senate stands adjourned until 9:30 a.m. tomorrow.
The Senate has gavelled out, and when members return, work continues on an energy efficiency